Good morning or good evening, students. This is Mr. Farmer. Once again, I'm giving you a video so that we are not really confused at the very difficult subject of the heart and how the four valves work and how oxygen is transferred in and out of the blood and getting to all the parts of your body. We left off last week with the right atrium and the right ventricle and what is going on there on the right side of your heart. And I gave you a little bit more of an overview, but let me continue on to what you are going to be doing this week. You're going to be starting on page 84, and you're going to be starting on number 6A. Now it asks you when the right ventricle contracts. Okay, so as the right ventricle over here, the bottom ventricle contracts, right? The chamber, the valve between the two chambers closes so the blood doesn't get pushed back up to the atrium. So always when there's a push at the bottom, the valve always closes. So the valve closes, 6A, and then the blood is able to be pumped to the lungs. This prevents the blood from going back into the atrium. That's all you have to put for 6A and B. Okay, so then that moves on. So the blood then goes to the lungs. Okay, the blood currently in the right ventricle and atrium is blue blood. Remember, it has no oxygen, so it needs to pick up oxygen. So this blue blood goes to the lungs where it picks up oxygen. So it goes to the lungs, it gives off carbon dioxide, which is the blue blood, and then it picks up oxygen. And then that blood now can be used by the cells. So number 9 is a little confusing. This blood can be used because now it has oxygen. But see, the blood that just came from the lungs has lost its momentum because it had to go to the lungs, it picks up oxygen, it has enough momentum to go back. So before it can go to the rest of the body, now that it has the oxygen it needs, the blood has to go back to the pumping station, right? So it has to go back to the heart. So number 10, think about it, what that asks you, okay? So you go back to the heart where now the red blood goes into the left atrium. It goes into the left atrium first, then it goes to the left ventricle, then the valve closes as the blood then gets pumped out of the ventricle. All right, so that valve has to close. So follow 10, 11, and 12 on. The left ventricle contracts because that blood, which is red blood because it has oxygen, it's got to be sent to all parts of the body. So the left ventricle contracts. The valve between the atrium, the left atrium, and the left ventricle closes, and then boom. Why does it have to close? So the blood doesn't go back up to the left atrium. All right, so the blood, whether it's either atrium, enters the atriums, goes into the ventricle, and then the valve closes, so when they pump out, blood doesn't seep back up to the atrium again. That's how the heart works. It is a circular system. Remember, we're picking up where there's blood that is blue blood that has no carbon, that has no oxygen, sitting in your right ventricle. That blood pumps out, so you'll start at 6A and B. It talks about the blue blood going to the lungs, picking up oxygen, come back to the heart to get into the left atrium, then enters the left ventricle, and then the valve closes, and then it pumps to the different parts of the body. Okay, you are going to end at 15. It says, then, what do you think happens to the blood? Okay, when it goes from the left ventricle, and I just went over that. Blood that's in the left ventricle gets pumped out. Where? Where does that blood go? What happens to the blood? It goes to the different parts of the body. All right, then it's used up and becomes blue blood, comes back to the heart, into the right atrium and right ventricle. Blue blood gets oxygen from the lungs, comes back to the heart, to the left side, goes to the left atrium, left ventricle, then is pumped to the different parts of the body, all right, by the left atrium and left ventricle. So you are going to pick up your assignment in 6. You are going to finish through to 15. Follow the cycle that I just went through, starting in the left ventricle, and you will be fine. And just make sure you watch this video. If you watch this video, you'll have no questions. If you do, make sure through Remind or whatever you use through Google Classrooms, please send me your questions. Have a great day.